Good morning, everybody. Um, it's been a while since I've done an actual podcast and put it on Podbean for an audio podcast. And even on my prepperguy.com website, I've posted some videos and stuff, but they were more about DIY and stuff, which I can't do an audio podcast on showing you a DIY review of a tool or something. So I thought today I would actually do a podcast while driving to work because I'm sure you're all missing it immensely. So today I want to talk about Fox, not Megan Fox, and definitely not a furry fox. No, I want to talk about Fox News and the self-destruction course of action they've taken. It's like kind of like watching Aliens when the mothership is about to self-destruct and it's counting down, and it's the same thing. It's like I guess the Murdoch family decided to just hit the self-destruct button for some reason, and now its ratings are in free fall, and they're going to be the next year's brunt of the joke. Go woke, go broke. Everyone will go, yeah, like Fox did, because they don't seem to be totally woke as many. But see, many of the news organizations like, CNN and MSNBC and CBS, all of them, they didn't really go woke. They were always kind of woke. So this was a lateral move for them to just slide over and be more fucking woke. And I don't know if any of you have watched this show. It was a mini-series called The Loudest Voice. And it had Russell Crowe playing the part of Roger Ailes. And then Rupert Murdoch. And it was the founding of Fox News. And, most people couldn't stand Roger Ailes because he was very sure of himself. And people don't like that, because they come across as arrogant and self-centered. But when it came to media and his form of career was media, he understood it. And in the show, The Loudest Voice, which I recommend all of you watch it if you haven't seen it already, because it really is Fox News from birth. I mean, the Murdochs owned Fox Entertainment and a lot of other stuff. And I didn't know that Fox News also owns Wall Street Journal. Who would have thought? But they're in a conference talking about, Roger Ailes' plan, for the new media company, Fox News. And he comes in, just kind of whatever, a little late, I think. And they're like, yeah, what about this? Where the fuck do you come off, basically, with this idea of yours? And he goes, look, we have two audiences in America. You have the conservatives and you have the liberals. You have Republicans, Democrats. He goes, every news agency out there right now are singing the praises and catering to the demographics and the viewers of Democrats. Seems to be very popular. And the Republicans and the conservatives are just left in the dark. He goes, if we focus on that one demographic, he goes, we immediately capture 50% of the market overnight. And as of recent, there are no competitors in that market. So he goes, we will dominate market share for 50% of our market, viewers, eyeballs, like that. And they all argued with him in this board meeting and said, "Hey, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah." You know. But when you think about it, he was right. And he proved it. And for the last, 20 years, and probably even, about 20 years, they were, really riding high. His theory was dead on, and there was no competition. Because, see, media at that time in the news was always, like I said, kind of wokish. We didn't have a word for it. But people like being told all this, Democrat stuff because we're a democracy, which we're not. And so it just was a comfortable fit, I guess. And so Rupert Murdoch, he's kind of grinning in the background, just standing there watching this conference, and he's like, "You're right. That's the course of Fox News." And then everybody was just like, "Oh, well, that's okay. If if Murdoch says it, that's what it's going to be because he owns the fucking company." So, and in a good boardroom, in any meeting, there should be, give and take, opposing views, almost heated discussion. But then when the number one guy, the owner of the company, the freaking chairman of the board goes, "Okay, I've heard both sides, we're doing that," everybody jumps on and goes, "Yes, let's do it." And so for a very long time, there was no contention with the way Roger Ailes, wanted to run the news outfit. And he picked Sean Hannity. He had trained Sean Hannity because Sean Hannity was really a pretty shitty, radio guy. I mean, he was nothing compared to Rush Limbaugh. And he was kind of like a nobody, kind of like me or you or anybody else that talks about the news. And they were pitching the thing for Hannity and Combs. And he goes, he lost the argument, just these mock debates and shows they were putting on before it actually went live. And he goes, he lost to this guy that's just a talking head Democrat. He's a dumbass. So rather than fire him, once again, Roger Ailes saw something in him, and he goes, "No, but he has a presence." And I see it when I listen to his radio show. He just needs to be polished. And he was right again. So Fox for years just bulldozed right through the media with their 50% share of conservative viewers. And they pulled a lot of Democrat viewers because they were tired of basically the yes man mentality. Yep, So that was Fox then. And then Rupert Murdoch started backing away from the company. His kids, being of another generation, were just, I guess, raised in Ivy League schools and, spent their summers in France because, fucking billionaires. And they started running the company with this equity, social love, peace, harmony, fucking mindset. And when I was young, they used to say, when you're, 16 to 20 or 30, you're usually a Democrat and you're very liberal in your thinking because you've grown up sharing your toys and saying you're sorry and all that happy shit. And then once you get a job and start paying taxes and watch them steal your hard-earned cash, you start becoming conservative and you're like, wait a minute. I don't mind if people get an abortion, even though I think it's morally wrong. I don't mind. Just stop using my money to pay for it. See, and that's where they started dividing us. It's like, oh, you hate that and they love it, so I'm going to take your money and give it to them, and they're going to go, yeah, serves you right, and you're going to go, hey, that's my fucking money. And then immediately you become very conservative and pissed off about shit, and then they divide you. See, it's all a big plan. So Fox News had that. They had, the American eyeballs and everything. And then the kids just started going, we're rich, we're woke, we're fucking special. And they've slowly, over the last, I would say, 10 years, really diminished the company. To where now, what do? They fucking fire Tucker Carlson. The one sane fucking voice on Fox News. The one guy that would say it like it was. Not to hurt people, just to tell the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts. But if you do it in a way to where you're not name calling, like they do in the liberal media, then you're not really a bad guy. So, my wife's reading this story about Fox News and Brian Kilmeade, and I like Brian Kilmeade. If I'm going to watch anything on Fox before they fire Tucker Carlson, because I always watch Tucker Carlson every day, bam, I recorded it, boom. I paid for YouTube TV to have it because for a long time I had cable and I had to buy the premium shit just to get Fox News, which pissed me off because I'm subsidizing all these shitty channels like Billy Bob's fucking fishing channel just so I could get Fox. It's socialism and I hate it. But anyway, so then I cut the cable, said F you guys, and I switched to YouTube TV because their local programming had Fox News and I could watch Tucker Carlson. That's it. Almost $70, $72, I think. It started out at 60 something, then it went up to 72. And it was worth it. For that 1 hour a day, what is 72 divided by 30 days is, I don't know, $250? I was willing to pay $250 a day just to watch Tucker Carlson. And there were some other programs on. So I would watch Brian Kilmeade, once in a while when he talked about history and stuff. And then I would rather watch him on Fox Nation. So paid for Fox Nation. It's another $7 a month. But I liked Tucker's shows on Fox Nation because it was not just his news show. He would interview people that were really smart and he did really great documentaries. Well, that was why I was there. That's why Fox News had my eyeballs. That's why they had my money, basically, especially with Fox Nation, because that's, a paid thing and you pay it to Fox. So they lost that $7, which, Rupert Murdoch's not going to miss $7 in his pocket. He could blow out his window and he wouldn't even go, what was that? So they're, like I said, I like Brian Kilmeade. He's a nice guy. Hell. But what ended up happening is they put him in to fill a slot that nobody could fill. I mean, Tucker was not any better than anyone else. He was just in a league of his own. And he built and kept his entourage from Fox. Fox did put him there and they gave him this platform. And out of that opportunity, he built it into 3 million views a night. That was him. Fox didn't do that for him. Fox allowed him to use that. He had the same opportunity as Hannity and Brian Kilmeade and everyone else, and he rallied that and turned it. It's just like being an American. You have the opportunity to be anything you want in America. Doesn't mean you're going to get it. And the equity argument doesn't mean someone's going to hand it to you. But if you apply yourself, you can become Bill Gates, Rupert Murdoch, Berkshire Hathaway, what's his name? Warren Buffett. You can be a billionaire, Jeff Bezos. But it's not given to you. You earn it. You command that and bring it to you. And that's what Tucker did in Fox. He took all the people watching Fox and gave them a reason to always watch him. I could miss Brian Kilmeade. I could miss Jesse Waters. Hell, I really like the Great Gutfeld show. I don't watch it every day. If I'm surfing around, and there it is. I go, oh, that's funny. It makes me laugh, and then I'm on my way, gone. And we would all like to be Tucker Carlson. I would love to have 1,000 or 1,000,000 subscribers and stuff, but I don't bring that content, and I don't begrudge someone that can, and I don't beat myself up because I can't. I am what I am. I'm okay. So back to Fox, not Megan Fox, who's really not even that good looking anymore. I mean, to be honest, Megyn Kelly's way hotter. So they've been plugging in these substitute teachers, trying to see if they can garner that audience, and I don't think anyone can. Hannity's got a big audience. That's his audience. He gets it from radio and everyone, and they tune in just for Hannity. See, and Fox is in this mental trap that they think you're successful, Hannity, because of us. And Tucker, the only reason you got 3 million views, those are our views. We brought them to the table for you. No. And I was trying to think of an analogy, because that's how my brain works, so I can lock it down and solidify it into something not abstract. And I was telling my wife, I go, does this analogy work? I go, it's kind of like there's a lot of really famous people in country music mainly, but Elvis too, I mean, even back then, that started out singing in a church choir. And the whole choir were great. You can't sit there and say that, even the Mormon Tabernacle Choir nowadays, or a lot of these Baptist churches you go to, their choir and the music is stellar. But there was, what's her name? She always shined. Boy, you could hear her voice in all the others. Not like so loud, not like so weird, just she hit the pitch every time. And when she did a solo, it was heavenly. So then she leaves the choir, let's say, and goes out on her own. Well, the choir will sit there and all of a sudden go, oh, well, we don't have as many listeners, people coming. She didn't take from your audience, and you didn't give her that audience. She brought people to that church because there was that one girl that just got, her voice was like an angel. And that's why they went. And the minute she left and went out on her own and became some Western singer, all of her fans went there. They might still go to the church. Doesn't mean they become agnostic or haters. It's just like, yeah, well, I used to come and go out of my way to go to church just to hear that choir sing. I can get my message from anywhere. I can hear somebody pounding on a pulpit and reading Bible scriptures pretty much at any 1,000 or 2,000 churches across the country that have that same, basically name, brand, whatever. But when it came to going to your church on every Sunday or Wednesday or whenever, I went for that. And that's what Fox News is not noticing. That he didn't take their audience. He took his entourage that he built over the many years at Fox, with his own two hands and his own mouth and his own logic and his own laughter and his own way of doing it. Even to his haircuts. I mean, you'd be watching Fox News, and Tucker Carlson tonight, every day for like 2 weeks straight, and his hair would, get longer and longer and out of sort. And then he'd get a haircut. My wife would go, oh, look, Tucker got a haircut. And I think even that was a thing that people went, oh, yeah, it's been, by the looks of it, a week since he got a haircut. And you don't think about it, but it's something people see. Does Coke taste better because of their branding on the can? No. Does Pepsi taste better? No. So it wasn't his hair. But when you see it, you go, oh, that's a Pepsi. You can look at the side of a pop can without any branding on it and go, that's a Pepsi, that's a Coke, that's a Dr. Pepper, that's a root beer. Bam. You know it immediately. And in advertising, they call that concept closure. It's like you can really literally cut off part of a word with an image in front of it, and they will still nail it. It says Dr. Pepper. And all you might have left was ER, because then there's other things in that image that say Dr. Pepper. So that was Tucker. You always knew that was Tucker. He built that audience, and when he left, when they fired him, he took it. And they're not going to replace it. And it's sad that they keep throwing people under the bus, like, Brian Kilmeade. It's not like Brian Kilmeade couldn't say, no, I'm not going to try to fill in for him. What are you, fucking nuts? That's a suicide mission. He had to do it because he's under contract. It's just the way it is. Shut up and fucking go do it. And it's not like he was filling in for him for the week because Tucker gone fishing. No. It's like, okay, he's gone. Go. Make the magic. And he's got a great audience. He doesn't have Tucker's audience. Because if he had Tucker's ability to sing, people would have been going to his church, watching his show. He would have those ratings because he had that. Only Tucker had that. Brian Kilmeade's great. He's a workaholic. He does everything for Fox. And he's got really good shows, and he's very informative. I'm just not going to listen to him every night. Sorry, I got other things to do with my time. Tucker somehow brought it to life in a different way. Maybe he could make it relatable. I don't know. But when he would laugh at people right to their face while they were speaking, I just loved it. And when I tell people, I love it when Tucker just starts laughing at somebody and he makes this face, like they always show him on the, the left side or whatever, the screen with this like kind of look like, oh my God, did you just say that on national TV? Do you realize how many people heard you say that stupid thing? It's like that comedy, whatever it was a movie or something. He goes, thank you very much. We're all a lot stupider and less educated now by hearing what you had to say. And he would do it with a look and a laugh. And sometimes he'd even go, you're going to have to back that up somehow because that's just the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. And that was Tucker Carlson. And they got rid of him for whatever reason. There's a ton of speculation. And don't get sidetracked during this podcast here trying to figure out why Tucker, was fired. Who cares? We don't know. We weren't on the wall. We're not the fly on the wall. We don't have the hidden camera that listened to everything. Only people in that room know exactly why he's no longer at Fox. And that would be the Murdoch family, maybe, Tucker, maybe a producer, a few, 10 people. That's it. Those are the only people that honestly really know what happened. Everyone else is just talking out their ass right now. Well, I think it was because of, the Dominion lawsuit. I think it was because he called that woman yummy. I think it was because he laughed at somebody. He pissed off a senator. He talked about this. He talked about that. He wouldn't wear a mask. Whatever. Shut the fuck up. You don't know because you're not Murdoch family. Not even, we're not even close to that in wealth. So we weren't in that room. I don't even know if lawyers were present during that one fatal meeting. But that's the way it is, and it is what it is. And so the Fox News Network has now been absorbed into the Borg of wokeness. They will never recover from this. Never. Rush Limbaugh died, and they've tried to fill his shoes. And when I'm on a construction site, I don't hear the Bud and whatever show anymore. They're out there. They're probably doing really well. They are not Rush Limbaugh and never will be. And whether you like them or not, doesn't really matter. There's, what's his name? Paul Harvey. And now you know the rest of the story. Nobody could do that because everybody can emulate it, but he hit that target at the right time when it mattered, and everybody always listened to the rest of the story. Always. It was his voice, his delivery, everything about the way he told that story. And you can copy it all you want, but you weren't there. You didn't catch lightning in the bottle like he did, like Tucker did, like Rush Limbaugh did. Fox News is now just another nameless, faceless piece of shit in the media broadcast community, cable network. That's a dinosaur. It's going the way of the dodo. It will be over soon enough. Because, I mean, well, the one guy, I can't think of his name. It's Valuetainment, a company that just made Tucker Carlson $100 million offer. And that's over 5 years, so that's what he was getting paid, $20 million a year at Fox. And he'll be president of the company, CEO, president, doesn't mean he owns it. But he will have equal share in the company. So they're really offering him, it's like, we're building this, come with us. And we'll still pay you $100 million over 5 years. But if you bring your audience, this won't cost us a dime. You will bring that just by virtue of sitting down and talking. So that's a company I'd never even heard of, really, until the other night on Megyn Kelly's show. I watch her because she talks about Tucker a lot, so I want to know what Tucker's doing. I don't really, Megyn Kelly's interesting. A lot of people are interesting. I could look at her for an hour and a half and not have my eyeballs offended, but, I could take it or leave it. But this guy is on her show saying, this is what I will give Tucker. Value Entertainment. Never heard of them. But there's these media groups now that are starting up. Tucker goes on Twitter and he posts a little 4 or 5 minute video about, something. It's close to 100 million views. That's like, if it was somebody talking about cats, cat video, they'd say, this guy broke the internet. Wow, but it's Tucker Carlson, so fuck him. But so Tucker Carlson could literally name it. That's just one of hundreds of offers I'm sure he'll be looking at in the next couple weeks. Because Tucker's not a fool. He's going to strike while it's hot. It'll at least get it ball rolling. And even though he's got family things he's working on right now, he'll keep that legs on that story going. Trust me, he's not a fool. So Fox has just become CNN, MSNBC. NBC's ratings were so bad that Microsoft had to pitch in some money and buy them out, which was Microsoft, NBC. There's CNN. All these companies, they've all just become woke, Borg, boring fucks. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, because I've heard these things going on in the background through Judge Napolitano and some of the podcasts I watch on YouTube and everywhere about, these bureaucrats that are really destroying our country. I mean, I don't know if you are aware that most of the country is run by bureaucrats. We don't elect them. And yet our politicians, especially our Congress, are so inept, so uneducated, and so lazy that they allow the bureaucrats to make law. And so there's these laws, like there was that kid that wore a shirt that said there are only 2 genders. Yeah, 5 words is what he kept saying. And he got in trouble at school, so he talked to the school board. Dynamite speech. If you've had a chance to watch it, kid is really bright and on top of it. And Judge Napolitano was talking about how these laws get passed through the Chevron Act that's now going to the Supreme Court, to where if they overturn that Chevron fucking policy bullshit thing, um, then like the EPA can't just sit there and go, oh, well, that mud puddle in your yard is actually part of a navigable waterway. You can't develop it into a spring or nothing. It's a mud puddle. Tough. Sucks to be you. If it sinks and eats your house, sucks to be you. And they don't have the authority, but they're bureaucrats. They're not even elected, and yet they're making laws. And so finally, somebody, I think it was, oh God, I can't remember who it was. I think it's these farmers or something. No, it's fishermen, I think, that are suing the federal government, and I think it's the it's not the wildlife and fish. It's some agency I'd never heard of, but it says fish in it. And they come along and they say, well, we think you're catching too many fish. We're going to put a federal agent in your boat and you got to pay his salary. It's like, really? So they're like, well, we don't have room on our boat. It's a fishing boat. It's small. And we're not gonna pay his salary. If he works for you, you pay his fucking salary. So it's now at the Supreme Court. And if the Supreme Court overturns the standing of the Chevron doctrine, then all these agencies will be on their own. Because right now, if the ATF says that you broke the law by having a trigger assembly and that constitutes a machine gun, well, then you're at fault. You have to prove you're not the bad guy. See, it's not innocent until proven guilty. It's when these agencies say you're guilty, you have to comply, pay the fine, quit business, or go to jail unless you can prove you're not the bad guy. That's what the Chevron doctrine stands for, or doesn't stand for. So, bureaucracy is out of hand. And that's mainly because of Congress. All of them. Your congressman, the guy you think is great because he's got a sweet looking head of hair, or she's so funny, like dumbass AOC or whatever the fuck her job is. And I talked to the guy that was running in my district for Congress, and I said, well, are you going to at least try to bring awareness to the 17th Amendment and the destruction of our representative republic by that one amendment? And he's like, what are you talking about? And so I kind of explained to him that, as Americans, we only elected Congress. That's it. And local elections, sheriffs, mayors, it was all very local. And it was every couple years, and that was that. You ever wonder why sheriffs are like every second election, you elect these 4-year terms? It's because years. So if you were elected, say, like sheriff for a 4-year stint, then you were only had to run for office the second election every year. So we, the people of the United States, only elected representatives. That's why we were a representative republic. And then the Congress, once you elected them, they would pick the senators to go to Washington. So your representative actually stayed home and represented. He talked to you. What do you want, Bob? What do you need? Oh, I'll look into that. And then they would get together every year and they would appoint 2 senators for the state, this half and that half. And then the senators would go to Washington and go, we're not going to vote for that. No, that's just stupid. And then the things that they would say yes on, then they would stay in Washington and they would write that law because they were legislators. They didn't pass it off to a bunch of bureaucratic aides to write the law while the senators went off and partied and got drunk while they were in Washington. No. And if they were fuck-ups, which most of them were, then the Congress would just basically call them up and go, hey, you've been recalled. Come home. You're done. You're not doing what we asked you to do. You're misrepresenting. So come home. And that was it. So you only had to worry about one election every 2 years. And that was electing a local guy, before gerrymandering. And then that was it. Then you were done and done. Now people go, well, that's fucked up because what about, the president? Well, the president doesn't represent the people, represents the states. So the states would elect the president based on that. I got to get some breakfast. Why don't you hang out with me while I get me some breakfast? I think I'll have the loaded breakfast sandwich.
What can I get for you?
Yeah, I want the loaded breakfast sandwich. Just a sandwich.
Is this a combo?
Just a sandwich.
Okay, what else?
That's all. So I'll get kind of back to how the whole representative republic worked in just a minute when I get out of here. Thank you. Have a good day. You too. So how it worked was, before gerrymandering, I would pick somebody I knew. They'd be my representative. The representative, as I said, would appoint senators to represent the states, and then they would go to Washington because the federal government did the bidding of the states. So then any things they voted to do was already approved for by Congress when they were sent there. They said, here's the issues we want you to vote on. If it's something different, get back with us or whatever, vote your conscience. But if you screw up, we'll recall you. And so everything was pretty much above board, and then they would come home, and then they were released. Or they might stick around for a while, if they did a good job. But they didn't really have anything to do, so they would probably try to milk it and stay in Washington and write these bills as long as they could. And that started to be the downturn because they'd say, if we vote yes on a few of these things that Congress is saying, vote no on, then we can write the law and we can stay here for 2 years writing that law and get paid for by the state's dime and hang out with hot hookers and drink fucking kvass or whatever, something they like drinking there. So that's kind of how it went for quite a while. And then the Congress, if they were paying attention, which they don't anymore, but back then they did, they'd say, hey, call up. Hey, Bob, you've been recalled because you're basically milking this and dragging your feet. So you can redeem yourself by finishing this up and doing a good job and reading it to us, and then we can tell you to do it or not, because they were really glorified mailmen back then. Or you can come home and we're going to send Jane. She'll do your job because you're an idiot. So it was a kind of a little check and balance. Well, see, we did away with that with the 17th Amendment. Now we elect senators. So that gives them a great deal of power because now they're elected for 6 years. They don't have to listen to Congress because Congress isn't giving them the job. The people are giving them a job, and the people can't really pay attention. Fuck, 1 year to another, that's just silly. We can't keep track of something definitely for 6 years. So that's what ended up happening. And then people, and then what happened, see, the Congress, once again, going back to the representatives, would actually pick electors, and then they would vote for the president based on the names in the hat. And all the names in the hat were what state, you might decide, I'm gonna be president. I'm going to run under the what the fuck party. And so you ran for president. George Washington ran against 8 other people running to be president when George Washington was elected by the Electoral College. So then you'd, over the campaign at the time, then the representatives in your state would hear about them. They'd talk to them. They'd do the whistle stops and everything. You go, we're gonna tell the electors to vote for this guy, and then they would get on a fucking train or a horse and buggy and go to Washington, and they would cast their vote. And then if you had, say, 10 people running and everyone got 10 votes, then it was a tie. But if somebody got 11 votes and another person got 9, then the guy with 11 votes won. He had the majority. See, it wasn't a majority of 50 plus 1. It was just the majority of all the votes counted with the average, basically. So out of 10 candidates and 100 votes, 10 is the average. If you get 11, you win. If you get 12 and someone else gets 11, then he wins as vice president. So he didn't have a running mate. So when all that changed, we lost representation. Our Congress doesn't do anything now because they're not required to do anything. So what they do is turn it over to bureaucrats. And that's why I started defund bureaucracy, because it needs to stop. But it's not like you can defund it, not like our tax dollars count anymore. If they need it, they just print it. So we can't even vote with our dollars anymore because, we maybe pay, $1 trillion in taxes every year, and then they go and print another, 5 or whatever they need. So you can't vote that way. But what we need to do is maybe start a campaign to educate Congress to take back their authority by repealing the 17th Amendment. So that's why it's there. I haven't done much with it lately because I got really discouraged and I've been really busy. But I have been really busy. That's why I haven't done podcasts and all that. So I want you to go to defund bureaucracy and look around and see. I need people that can write and articulate things. If you want to do a podcast and shoot it over to me, I'll put it on there. I'll do it. It doesn't have to be your main podcast, so you can do your whole main podcast and then just give it to me to share, and I'll put it on there for you. Not a big platform, but hey, it's a help. So this is how valuetainment got started. Probably small, but I'm not into entertainment. I'm into fixing our country. People talk about saving America and getting our country back, and yet, what do? Not a fucking thing. We vote. We get caught up in the minutia. We think, well, who will be our president? Donald Trump? Well, how about what's his name? DeSantis. It's like, well, what about this? What about Vivek? Whatever his name is, Ramaswamy. He's an educated guy. I'm not going to vote for him. Not because I don't like him, but because I don't really believe that I should vote for a president anymore. It's a talent show. It's more useless than the king and queen of high school fucking prom. The president's job is to represent America outside of America. It's kind of like the landscaper. He doesn't come in and tell you how to paint your house on the inside. He's the landscaper. Tell you how to plant your trees, how to keep your grass green. That's great. So what goes on in the house is Congress. And there was the House of Representatives, one branch. And then, they called it the legislature because they voted and made laws and wrote laws. There's the court system. And then there's the executive, which is the presidency and all of his cabinet. And the president is the chief law enforcement officer within the country. But that's why these executive orders right now, the way they're being used, are so unconstitutional. The president can only write an executive order pertaining to federal law that's not being enforced by the federal government, and few laws apply to states because the states don't give a shit about federal law. I mean, that's like the kids in your house giving you chores. It doesn't work that way. We're the parents. The states created the federal government. The federal government is our bastard illegitimate child, not the other way around. So federal law doesn't apply. See, it's gotten so convoluted. And when you talk to people about it, it's really not a party favorite conversation. It's kind of like, Mark, you're being a party pooper. Go away. And so we need to somehow get control of it. And I guess I can continue to be, Mark, the bummer guy to have around. But I can do it online. And the people that listen to this and go, yeah, I get it, Mark. We need to change it. And if you're going to change it, if you're going to fight to make a change, you have to understand the problem first. What is the problem? It's the 17th Amendment. It said our Congress are lazy, inept asshats, and they're not doing their job. And they're passing the buck to the Senate, and the Senate is going, that's Congress's fault. Congress funds everything. We haven't had a declaration of war since World War II, an actual legal authority to go to war, which then makes the President of the United States the Commander-in-Chief. Otherwise, he is not. Joe Biden is not the Commander-in-Chief. Donald Trump was not the Commander-in-Chief. George Bush was not the Commander-in-Chief. Reagan was not the Commander-in-Chief because we hadn't declared war. It's a technicality. A lot of people go to jail for technicalities. A lot of people get out of jail because of technicalities. So it's all in the details. The devil's in the details. So we need to learn that. We need to fix that. And it's probably a lost cause because America's pretty well over. Just maybe trying to limp the vehicle up the hill to get to the top of the hill. And then maybe we can at least coast on the way down to the crash. So, all right. I've got my breakfast. I'm at work. I love y'all. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
We made too many compromises already. Too many retreats. They invade our space, and we fall back.
I'm your huckleberry.
The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther.
That's just my game.